Welcome to Talking Crue, a unofficial Motley Crue podcast. I'm your host, Kevin Humphrey, where I talk all things in the world of Motley Crue. This is episode 14 this week. Decade of Decadence home video review is what I'm going to be talking about. This week in Motley news, quite a lot of it. Motley announced on Monday that they will take part of Summerfest in Milwaukee, Wisconsin on Friday, June the 21st, 2024. That's actually exciting news. Nikki said they will do a tour, but not exactly know when. So already one announcement of a show. I'm hoping in a few weeks maybe they'll announce some more shows to come. John 5 is in the news this week, and he's been a very busy bee. He was on Kenny Aronoff, that's Aronoff, his podcast. Kenny is the drummer, or was the drummer for the band John Cougar Mellencamp. Plus, he did the drum tracks on John Bon Jovi's first solo album, Young Guns 2. So he's on his podcast. Plus, John was on Metal and Monsters podcast along with Bill Moseley. Bill, I know him more from the Rob Zombie movies, House of a Thousand Corpses, Devil's Rejects, and Three from Hell. Really great actor. Along with Kenny Hickey, who is in the band Typo Negative. I'll post both of these podcasts in the comment section down below so you can check out these podcasts. Plus, he posted a reminder to all the fans that John 5 and the Creatures will start their tour on January 25th, and it runs through March the 1st. So check out john5.com and click on the tour dates to find out when John's coming to your town. I wish he was coming here. I'd definitely go check him out because I've heard he does an outstanding show. And he released a new single and video for the song called Ghost. It's absolutely freaking fantastic. You want to hear how great of a guitar player John 5 is, check out this song. It's absolutely great. Mick Mars is in the news this week. He released his first single, Loyal to the Lies, which I also did a review of as a bonus episode. So if you have not seen this, go back and check this out. He also did an interview with Eddie Trunk on Trunk Nation on Sirius XM. You can also go ahead and pre-order Mick's new album on his website shop.mickmarsofficial.com. You can get it on vinyl and CD. He's actually even offering a autographed copy as well. The album comes out February 23rd, 2024. This morning, the band itself kicked off their Japan show number 1 this morning. I've seen some video clips of it. It sounded great. The fans looked so happy. The band looked happy. That's the important part. And this morning, or later this afternoon, I should say, they announced Crueseum. It's a Motley Crue museum. It's going to be online. It's if you haven't seen it yet, you can sign up now. It is CRUESEUM.com. I've already signed up. Didn't have to ask me twice. I already signed up. I'm really looking forward to this. I'm anxious to see what they actually put up here. There's already 2 bands that I know of that have like a museum-ish kind of thing going on. Metallica has one. I think it's called the Black Box or something like that, which is cool. Which is actually cool. Kind of cool. Easy for me, so I'm getting kind of tongue-tied already, and which is actually kind of cool to see. There's mostly pictures though, and T-shirts and stuff like that. Now, Def Leppard is the one I kind of hope Motley kind of modelizes this from, and actually kind of expands on it. Def Leppard has the Vault is what it's called, and they have like old T-shirts, pictures, even the late great Steve Clark's road case, what was actually left over in his road case. There's track by track on Power Mania that each band member goes through each song. So yeah, theirs is really cool. I'm really hoping Motley's is going to be like this and more. So I'll keep you updated on this when it actually comes out, or it comes online, I should say. And that's it in Motley news this week. Like I said, quite a lot of it. This is episode 14, the Decade of Decadence home video review is what I'm going to be talking about. There's a little bit of a glare there. Like I said during the Dr. Feelgood home video, I actually lost this during moving and all kinds of stuff, and lost it somewhere along the way. I guess I'm going to have to rebuy it on eBay. But it was my favorite out of the 3 VHS home videos. It was my absolute favorite, and when I read this review, you'll find out why. Alright, so this week's episode, I'm going right back into the timeline. I'm saving the actual history of the timeline in 2 weeks, and I'll explain that here in a little bit. When we get towards the end of this, you'll find out why. So this is what they released between albums, between Decade of Decadence album and the next studio album. This is their, like I said, it's their third home video release. So let's talk some info and facts. The home video, you can get 2 different ways, kind of like the other 2. You can get it on VHS or Laserdisc. Motley Crue Uncensored Episode 7. And Motley Crue Dr. Feelgood home video in episode 11. So if you missed those, go back and check those out. The interviews were directed and produced by Brian Lockwood, who worked with a lot of different bands. He worked with Bon Jovi, Eric Clapton, Extreme, Great White, Skid Row, Metallica, and Van Halen, plus a whole lot more. This guy's got a big long list of who he's worked with. The executive producer was Elizabeth Bailey from Elektra Entertainment, which was Motley's record label at that time. The home video was released on March 24th, 1992. The running time on this movie is 115 minutes, which equals out to 1 hour and 45 minutes. It went gold, which meant it sold 50,000 copies in the United States alone. It has interviews with the band. It shows the band on stage. It shows the band backstage. Plus, all the videos at that time, music videos, are all on this. Plus an extra surprise, including the videos from the Girls, Girls, Girls album. They weren't on Uncensored because they hadn't recorded that album yet. It wasn't on Dr. Feelgood home video because it was an actual Dr. Feelgood home video. So it's got those videos as well. Plus the 3 new videos at that time are on this: Primal Scream, Anarchy in the UK, and Home Sweet Home 91. The interviews are really cool. They're all in different places. They're all solo interviews. Tommy in the studio, Mick at his home, kind of in his dungeon or basement or something. Vince at his home in his game room with them wife Charisse. Nikki at home or at poolside. Plus, I'll talk more about this as we go along. So, let's talk about the home video itself. It starts off with fans filling into a, looks like a field, like the Monsters of Rock Festival. The road crew setting up the stage, and the band rolls in on the bus. Then the intro and like pieces of the album start to come together of the Decade of Decadence, which is really cool. Then Tommy talks about the roar of the crowd for the first time when the lights go out. Nicky talks about his first show when he saw T-Rex, Blue Oyster Cult, and Kiss in Kansas, Seattle. Vince talks about the love of the fans. Mick then talks about the song Live Wire. And then they go right into that video, Live Wire. Then they come back. Tommy talks about his dad being in the marching band. Nicky talks about his first song that he ever heard by the country star Jimmy Dean, Big Bad John, and how he would bug radio stations. Okay, will you play this song? It kind of reminds me of me when I called to hear Home Sweet Home. Mick talks about his very first guitar. Vince talks about his first band, Rock Candy. Then they go into Looks That Kill video. Then they come back, and Nicky talks about meeting the fans, and he thanked one of the fans because the fans said, "That is a cool looking car," and Nicky said, "Thank you," because it was us that bought it, basically. Not in a kind of a crude way, but just being honest, and I love that about this band. Then it shows the band backstage, Nicky lighting candles and hollering for Reggie, and then Mick just starts screaming that Reggie. It's absolutely hilarious. It's funny. There's my notes. Sorry. Then they go into Too Young to Fall in Love video. It shows the band taking some photo sessions outside. Mick talks about his influences, Jeff Beck and Ritchie Blackmore, and a bunch of blues musicians. Nicky talks about his son Gunner, who just got born around that time. Then they go into Smoking in the Boys' Room video. Vince talks about trying to learn guitar lessons, and he quickly gave it up after a few times. Mick signs this like wall that has a bunch of autographs on it, and he sees Jeff Beck, and he signs right below Jeff Beck. Then Tommy talks about borrowing a drum kit from school. Sorry, I lost track of my notes there. Mick talks about practicing guitar while on the road and sees other bands practicing the same licks of the songs, and he's like, "Don't you know this by now?" So when he practices something way different that they hadn't even recorded yet. Then we get to Home Sweet Home, the original video. Then Tommy talks about how cool it is that when he sees fans sing along to all their songs, he almost gets lost. Nicky and Vince talk about how cool it is, how cool us, the fans, are. Then they go into the Girls, Girls, Girls video. Then they come back. Vince and Tommy talk about the making of the Too Fast for Love album and how it went by so fast that it was over before they knew it. Then Vince gives some advice to all the young musicians out there. Then they go into Wild Side video. Nicky talks about Motley versus everybody. Especially around that time, they had the feud with Bon Jovi and Axl Rose at that time. Then there's a really cool part. It shows the band on stage and Nicky smashing his bass guitar. I always love that part. Then Mick playing a little bit of Sticky Sweet, and he's also making his own bullets down there in his basement. And then it shows Mick and then wife Amy of the Nasty Habits on a shooting range. Then they show the video You're All I Need. Nicky points out a sign. It says wardrobe with iron on the picture of it, and Nicky said, "This is weak. This is not very Motley Crue." It's absolutely funny. I think it's great. Vince talks about his favorite tour, which was with Ozzy on the Shout at the Devil tour. Shows Tommy warming up on his drumsticks, hitting it looks like a chair, with the Pantera song "Cowboys from Hell." And then he talks about meeting Gene Simmons of Kiss at an Ozzy show. Then they show the Dr. Feelgood home video. Nicky talks, and when they come back, Nicky talks about that they don't have to be Motley Crue or try to be Motley Crue. They are Motley Crue. Then it shows Nicky giving Tommy a mohawk, which is absolutely funny because he mentions Heather. Does Heather have to do this? Heather Locklear. Vince talks about Mick and says he's the devil. Nicky says that Mick is one of the greatest blues players around at this time. Uh, Mick says he gives advice for future guitar players. Now here's the bonus part. They show All in the Name of live from Moscow. Then they come back. Vince talks about racing cars, and it actually shows him racing a Indy car. And then he talks a little bit about Kickstart My Heart, the song. He's living that life of the video. And then, of course, they show the video, Kickstart My Heart. And then, awesome homemade movie when they come back. It shows the band taking the stage at the US Festival in 1983. And Vince talks about doing this show. I mentioned this on that podcast, on that episode, the US Festival. It was just a sea of people and they couldn't see where it ended. Plus, like I said in that episode, they came out, Shout at the Devil costumes. They played some Shout at the Devil songs off that album. Hadn't been released yet. They were still recording this. Tommy is asked, are we cranking this up yet? I hope so. About the home video. Nicky talks about Aerosmith being his Rolling Stones when he was growing up, how they were the coolest band and looked the coolest, sounded the coolest, and actually meeting Steven Tyler of Aerosmith. Then they show the Without You video. Nicky says talks about some of his favorite bass players, Pete Way of UFO, that's a cool band. If you've never checked out UFO, check out the album Strangers in the Night. Pete Way on bass, Michael Schenker on guitar is freaking amazing. Then Nicky and Vince backstage, they make fun of Axl of Guns N' Roses. I lost my contact. Oh, I can't play. You gotta see that. It is absolutely hilarious. Even all these years later, it is absolutely hysterical. Then they show the video Don't Go Away Mad. Then they come back. Tommy talks about his hobbies. When he gets frustrated in the studio, he goes out dirt bike riding or racing one of his cars. Vince talks about receiving gifts from fans like license plates and stuff like that. Then they show the Same Old Situation video. Mick talks about not taking music lessons when he was younger. Vince talks about voice lessons before he goes into the studio to record an album or on tour. Then Nicky talks about the songs that relate to all the fans, and he's real proud of that. And I relate to pretty much all the Motley songs, pretty much. Well, yeah, I do. Alright, then they show the song, or the video Primal Scream. Vince talks about when they are together, they're like brothers. Nicky talks about how cool recording Anarchy in the UK, the song, and the music video. And then, of course, they show Anarchy in the UK. Vince talks about Hollywood. It's home to him, and to some people, it's a nightmare. That reminds me of that song Danger, like I said on the Shout at the Devil episode. Then they show Home Sweet Home 91. Then they come back. Nicky talks about how some bands don't age very well. They're not true to themselves. Tommy's asked, are we done yet? Vince says, I'm out of here. And then the credits start to roll and pictures of the band, which is really cool, so you really want to stick around to this part, is when the credits roll, they show a bunch of pictures from magazines and posters and this and that and the other on stage of the band at that 10-year. So yeah, it's really cool. Then at the very end, another really cool moment is the band actually wrote us, the fans, a note. Credit where credit is due, but the real credit belongs to us, the Crue heads. And I always love that when they do stuff like that. And yeah, because without us, there's no Motley Crue. They know this. Alright, and that's the movie. Also, some parts that I want to touch on real fast that I didn't put in my notes is in between the music video and before they come back on, they would do those pictures and stuff like that. And that is really cool. Well done. Well put together. Love it. I will post the how you can watch this on YouTube in the comments section. I found a guy that posted the whole video in 4 different parts. That's the thing. It's like 30 minutes each part. So, but you get to see the whole thing in case you missed it. For all you younger Motley Crue fans out there, and I do know a lot of them. So that's it for the home video. Homework this week. Do you have this? Have you seen it before? And question number 3, I pushed it on the Uncensored home video and the Dr. Feelgood home video. Would you want them to release this as a 2-disc DVD or Blu-ray set? I do. Please. To me, it's simple. All they have to do is transfer it to DVD or Blu-ray. It's easy money, if you ask me. BMG, are you listening? 10th Street Entertainment, are you listening? Alan Kovac, Nikki, Tommy, Vince, John 5, are you guys listening? We want this. And that's it for this week's episode. Next week, like I said, I'm going to wait on the next studio album because next week's episode is episode 15. I'm actually going to talk about a guy he's mentioned in 2 different Motley Crue books. In fact, he has a whole chapter in each of these books. Motley Crue The Dirt and another Motley Crue book that was a European book. It's over there on the shelf. I can't really see it, what the title is, but I'll bring it out and show it to you guys next week. I'm talking about a guy who's important to be mentioned. If in The Dirt, he has to be. I'm talking about Matthew Trippy story is what I'm calling it. And plus, with all this crap that's been going on these last few weeks, you'll hear this story. If you don't know, hit that subscribe button. You'll find out next week. Speaking of that, I want to thank everybody who viewed last week's Halloween special. I want to thank all my new subscribers. I want to thank everybody who watched the review of Mixed Song that I posted out on Tuesday. So, thank you. I really appreciate it. If you know anybody that is a Motley Crue fan, send them this way. Share them the link. Tell them go on Google, Firefox, YouTube, Facebook, whoever else is out there. Tell them type in Talking Crue. All the episodes will pop up. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Give me a thumbs up. And join the Facebook page as well, Talking Crue. So there's 2 ways to join. And that's it. I'll see you guys next Friday. And you just took a ride on the wild side.